While we don't have much information on classes or character creation and progression at this time, what we do have is the tabletop RPG Exodus Traveler's Handbook, which outlines Exodus franchise classes and subclasses. So, although these are not confirmed yet to be official classes for the game, this information at the very least should have a strong influence on the game. And also note that James Olin is the lead for both the tabletop and the video game. So, let's have some fun and see what may possibly await us. Chapter markers below. In Tabletop Exodus, when you join the Travelers, which are a group of space explorers, something that we are confirmed to also be doing in the video game, you choose to start as one of 4 base classes at level 1. And I'll go a bit deeper into each of these classes in the next chapter marker, but here's a quick overview to help you navigate the video. The Cataphract class is someone who has an affinity for mechs, so a mech pilot of sorts, and this class comes with the subclass choices of Assault Mech or Scout Mech. The Daemon subclass represents someone who can bond with a silicate. Think of this class as an alien parasite joining with your body, and the Daemon subclasses are Shadow Daemon and Sword Daemon. The Prodigy class is someone who can manipulate to a high degree remnant technology, and remnants are ancient, powerful celestial technology that we're already confirmed to be seeking out in the game. The subclasses for Prodigy are the Lancer and the Shaper. And the Ranger class is someone who has an affinity for the Awakened, which are animals with enhanced intelligence. This class doesn't have subclasses in the traditional sense, as a Ranger's specialty and uniqueness comes down to what awakened animal companions that they choose to accompany them. Alright, now let's dive deeper into each of the 4 classes. The Cataphract, a pilot controlling a powerful mech serving and defending humankind. Interestingly enough, one of our companions appears to be an awakened octopus that is piloting a mech, and we also have the confirmed human cataphract named Elise. So let's start off with a quick lore summary of the class, and then I'll jump into actual class features. So the idea here with the Cataphract is that human technology is still very, very young compared to the highly advanced celestial civilizations in the Exodus universe. Celestial tech, however, has reached a point where it has started to stagnate, while humanity is rapidly innovating as they mix new ideas, sometimes from scavenged celestial tech, into practical, extremely powerful machines. The Cataphract's mech armor is the best example of this, as it's a tough, adaptable suit that is even capable of standing up to celestial weapons. What makes mechs so unique in Exodus is that mechs connect directly to their pilot's nervous system, making them move as naturally as the pilot's own body, as mechs contain highly advanced systems that help balance the mech's weight, allowing a Cataphract to fight with incredible speed and agility. The downside is that using a mech for too long takes a toll on the pilot, and it can make life outside of the mech quite threatening. Sometimes mech pilots will experience pain, disorientation, and even human experiences such as intimacy can become very, very difficult. Some pilots will even feel like some intrinsic part of their psyche ends up housed in the engineering of the mech, extracted from their native bodies. Cataphracts aren't just incredible fighters though, they're also engineers who personally build and maintain their own mechs, constantly fine-tuning them, modifying their functions, and of course upgrading them with scavenged or hard-earned technology. Humanity views Cataphracts as the front lines of defense, brave heroes carrying enough firepower to make even the Celestials take notice. So playing as a Cataphract in Tabletop Exodus starts you with the lowest base HP out of all of the classes. But of course you're going to be jumping into a mech, so that's not that big of a deal. And you're also proficient with pistols. But don't worry, as your mech weapons are separate weapons from the regular human weapons. At level 1, Cataphracts get to choose 2 weapon masteries, and having a weapon mastery in Tabletop Exodus basically unlocks extra weapon features in the category that you get mastery in. Examples include being able to shoot rounds that slow targets, or unlocking burst fire on a rifle. If this class does turn out to be in the game, or even if we get to just use mechs in general, we should expect to be focusing on using the mech weapons though over regular human handheld weapons. And for mech weapons, I would expect to see different types of missiles, railguns, lasers, and cannons, all of which will likely have some sort of heat resource that you'll have to manage, so you can't just keep shooting constantly. At level 2 Cataphracts, choose a mech archetype, or subclass if you will, with the choices being Assault Mech and Scout Mech. Assault Mechs are all about being heavily armored and destroying things, and as they level up, they get a powerful unarmed strike, they have stabilizers to reduce incoming damage, and they turn into really hard to hit machines despite their size. A Scout Mech, on the other hand, prioritizes taking advantage of what they find, and they're really good at adapting remnant technology with the systems of their mech. In simple terms, that means attaching cool alien shit to your rig. Although not as tanky as an assault mech, scouts can still take blows, and they have better mobility as they gain the ability, or mech attachment should I say, to fly. Subclasses aside though, all Cataphracts at level 2 gain the ability to eject out of their mech to a safe space, and they gain the ability to start installing treasury remnants, which is alien technology, but alien technology that's a bit more abundant and more commonly found. So not as powerful as an artifact, for example, which is legendary alien technology that can reshape and or destroy civilizations. At level 3, Cataphracts gain the ability to vent additional heat out of their suits. Level 5 gives them extra attack, but since the video game is an action game, if extra attack were to be represented in some way, it could just be something as simple as gaining quicker attacks. At level 7, Cataphracts gain a feature called Fire Everything, which gives them the ability to make an attack that uses all of their equipped mech weaponry simultaneously. Level 9 is Overdrive mode, which allows the Cataphract to make some mech weaponry not generate heat, so they can shoot more often. And level 10, a Cataphract gains Recharge, which in action terms would probably be a cooldown clear ability that allows you to, for example, use that Fire Everything ability again. The Daemon Class, a living weapon bonded with a mysterious being. So the cool thing about this potential, but also almost confirmed class, is that in the Exodus video game artwork, we see male and female June, which is the player character, but also a daemon next to both of these June player characters, making it seem highly likely that we'll be able to become a daemon. Whether or not it's a class choice or some other way it's represented, we'll have to wait and see. But daemons are essentially humans that bond with a silicate egg to become superhuman in a way, but with a few rather notable potential faults. The very interesting thing here, though, is that no one really knows where the silicates actually come from, or even if they were created at all. Some believe they're alien parasites pulled from strange ecosystems and forced to find a new way to survive, and humans are that way to survive. Humans seemingly give silicates purpose and life, and in return, silicates give humans incredible power, enough to even challenge the Celestials. But speaking of Celestials, to a Celestial, a silicate egg is just a shiny gem. But when touched by a human that a silicate feels is bond-worthy, it awakens and forms a living bond of sorts, merging flesh and crystal into one. As you can see, this picture of a daemon is basically a human with transparent crystal skin. When the silicate fully bonds with its human, it becomes a shadow in their human's mind, influencing their thoughts and emotions, often pushing them towards violence. Daemons constantly struggle to keep control over themselves, and many humans fear them, understandably so, because daemons can be quite unpredictable and dangerous, and their existence can also bring unwanted attention from Celestials. But not all humans fear them, as some view daemons almost as symbols of hope, as they are proof that humans can wield power strong enough to stand up to the Celestials. Bonding with a silicate is a risky process, though. Some will completely fail to awaken one, while others will die painfully as crystals burst from their bodies. Those who survive, though, will gain immense power as the silicate merges deeper within them, enhancing their body, mind, and reflexes in unique ways. Each daemon becomes a mix of human and silicate, evolving differently over time, and silicates will not bond with Celestials for unknown reasons. Out of the 4 classes in tabletop, daemons start with the highest base HP, and out the gate they're good with blades, explosives, heavy guns, pistols, rifles, and shotguns, but they also get to choose 2 weapon masteries to gain those extra weapon features, and they'll eventually have a total of 4 weapon masteries, so really good and versatile with weapons in general. At level 2, the daemon gets to choose its silicate archetype or subclass, and the choice is between playing as a shadow daemon or a sword daemon. For shadow daemons, shadow silicates will burrow deep within their hosts, strengthening bodily structures, augmenting the nervous system, and physically changing sensory organs in a way that makes them look unmistakably different. They are, however, subject to responding to threats with lethal force even when it may not be required. It's kind of like having a wild dog on a fragile leash. As a Shadow Daemon levels up, they gain attack bonuses on creatures that are close to allies. They gain the ability to unleash their shadow, which basically makes them a super tank as they have resistance to all damage and can even gain HP back. However, using this Unleash Shadow ability sometimes can also result in losing control of your shadow, which makes you attack anyone that's close to you, friend or foe. At later levels, the Shadow Daemon gets to unleash their shadow more often, and the shadow will gain a straight-up healing ability to heal you, and they gain a Shadow Strike, which basically allows your shadow to attack when you have it out, dealing extra damage to your opponent, so you and the shadow are both attacking. The Sword Daemon grows an exoskin over their entire body, which is a layer of clear crystalline fibers woven together in a living network that grants both flexibility and durability. And this exoskin is able to absorb or harvest kinetic strikes against it and use that stored energy for itself. For example, if you shoot at a Sword Daemon, this may cause the Sword Daemon to start running faster towards you. The Sword Daemon's kinetic armor gains all sorts of cumulative combat benefits as they build up what Tabletop calls energy points as they take kinetic damage. Sword Daemons also have the ability to not take damage from high pressure environments, and they can survive longer without oxygen. Dave and Dave, anyone? Setting subclasses aside, all Daemons at level 5 become less susceptible to being hit by ranged attacks. They get to do more attacks as they gain the extra attack feature, which of course would be implemented differently in an action game. At level 9, they gain Indomitable, which makes them less likely to fail a saving throw, but how that would be implemented into the action RPG Exodus, I'm not sure. Regardless, it's pretty much a guarantee that Daemons will be quite tanky. The Prodigy, a warrior skilled at wielding powerful remnants. So this class is all about possessing a maverick ability to understand and bond with remnants, which is alien technology. And this is done through a process known as neural induction. Typically for humans to have this ability, you must have a neural induction pad on one of your palms, and this pad can connect to remnants among several other things. All Celestials have this ability, but it's rare among humans as one must be genetically engineered, or perhaps like our player character June, being half human, half Celestial means that the neural pad may be passed on to you from your Celestial parent. Since we already have neural induction in the game regardless of class, if the Prodigy is a class in the game, perhaps archetype will just lean way harder into neural induction and give you much more proficiency over its use. So Prodigies in Tabletop over time expand their repertoire, increasing their mastery of the devices they uncover and unlocking new powers. When a Prodigy bonds with remnants, these alien devices become almost like additional limbs. They become extensions of the Prodigy's body and mind, increasing its efficiency and potency. In a way, you could think of this as sentient weapons becoming one with their owner. Among humans, Prodigies have a bit of a reputation for reckless adventurers meddling with powers that they don't understand, but in reality, most Prodigies do develop a meticulously cautious nature. This class is all about seeking out alien technology that can increase one's potential, and therefore Prodigies can be known to be quite connected to underground networks where some of this tech may be found, but of course, first and foremost, most Prodigies are addicted to traveling the universe to scavenge for remnants, something we will be doing in the game. Prodigies start off with slightly less HP than Daemons, but more than Cataphracts, and they are proficient out the gate with the use of blades and pistols. They immediately gain the ability to use their neural induction capabilities, which allows them to, at level 1, use level 1 treasury remnants, which, a reminder, as I did talk about these during the Cataphract class, treasury remnants are more abundant and common alien technology that can be found, so nothing that can, change a civilization, but certainly quite useful to a human. And of course, as you progress as a Prodigy, you'll unlock the ability to use higher level remnants. Right away at level 1, though, you can already use an Aegis, which is a type of celestial armor. You can use casters, which resemble handheld firearms with no obvious firing mechanism. You can use celestial guns, which are oftentimes found in ancient remnant sites. and projectors, which are futuristic devices capable of projecting energy beams, light, and even nanomaterials. At level 2, prodigies gain a skill proficiency and become experts in one of these skills: electronics, genetics, history, or mechanics. No idea how or if that would be implemented in the game, but it could even be something like unlocking special dialogue options playing as the Prodigy class. And also at level 2, you get to choose your subclass, and the choices are Lancer or Shaper. So Lancers have decided that the best defense is an overwhelming offense, and they dedicate themselves to devices of war. And when they bond to these types of remnants, they'll unlock enhanced destructive powers. Lancers are typically the first ones to get off an attack in a fight. They get extra damage when using their remnants, and they even have the ability to double their damage with certain attacks. Shapers are prodigies whose talents lie in pushing the boundaries of celestial technology, the big one here being manipulating livestone, which is a material that in the handbook starts as a fluidic material, but once it's shaped into its final form, becomes rock-like in appearance. And prodigies will learn to do everything with livestone, from repairing and building structures to transforming and unleashing livestone as a weapon to disrupt, ensnare, or crush enemies. Prodigies may be able to use livestone to make giant shields to protect their team, or even bridges to navigate environments. They can make livestone snakes and even produce fog, all sorts of interesting stuff. Think of the Shaper as a bit of an earthbender, but in a more techie science type of way. Shapers gain a livestone gauntlet at level 2, which gives them that advanced ability to understand and manipulate livestone. They gain increased livestone capacity, allowing them to manipulate more livestone for longer periods of time without becoming exhausted, and they're able to use more livestone based treasury remnants. But back to prodigies in general, the last general class feature, which comes at level 5 in tabletop, is called Recharge. In putting this in potential action RPG terms, this may give the prodigy a way to clear a cooldown on a celestial item that has been used. The rest of this class's progression is more so focused on the chosen subclass progression, which I already talked about. And last but certainly not least, the Ranger. Nomad traveling the cluster with loyal awakened animals. So before humanity left Earth, scientists were able to boost the intelligence of certain animals through controlled genetic engineering, and these became known as awakened animals. And you'll find them alongside humans pretty much everywhere in the cluster that you find humans. Most awakened animals can't speak, but they can communicate through tech or more sophisticated intentional body language that humans are easily able to understand. Awakened animals' place in society is a bit complicated, as they were created to serve humans, but many now have some level of independence and are able to choose to work jobs that match their natural and awakened abilities. They rarely have real power amongst humans, though, and many humans still do quietly look down on them as just animals. Rangers, on the other hand, are humans who form deep partnerships with these awakened animals. Some will work with them simply because it's pragmatic, but most rangers will see it as something a bit more spiritual, sharing a life with another creature who experiences the world in a completely different way. Rangers are able to build lifelong, strong bonds with these awakened and are almost able to act as if they share the same instincts and senses. These companions become extensions of themselves, guiding and warning them alike. But because of this, some people see Rangers as a bit odd or hard to relate to. Rangers are fiercely loyal to their animal companions, and they won't tolerate treatment that most humans wouldn't think twice about doing to an animal. Rangers have been everything from rebels to heroes to notorious criminals in Exodus history. Some militaries and explorers will rely on Rangers for their abilities and their versatility, but they always seem a little separate from the rest of humanity. Along with their awakened companions, Rangers often use drones linked by neural tech that allows them to control and coordinate a whole pack of awakened, but the drones are also quite useful in hostile conditions where the actions of living creatures can be quite limited. Rangers in tabletop have the same base HP as prodigies, so more than cataphracts out of their mech suits, but less than daemons. They are slightly limited in their armor use, as they don't have proficiency in heavy armor, but they do have light and medium proficiency. But for weapons, they're proficient with blades, drones, explosives, pistols, rifles, and shotguns, leaving out only heavy guns and mech weaponry. And they get to choose weapon mastery in 2 of those weapon categories to unlock those extra weapon features. Right away at level 1, Rangers get to use one low-level treasury remnant, which once again is alien technology that's a bit more abundant, so not super rare or insanely powerful, but still very, very useful. But this treasury remnant has to fall into the categories of guns or remotes. At later levels, though, Rangers do unlock the ability to use higher-level treasury remnant guns or remotes. Level 2 is when Rangers get to choose their first awakened companion, but at this level, the choices are limited to what the tabletop calls a lesser awakened. You do get another lesser awakened choice at level 4, and at level 7, you get to pick up a greater awakened companion. So at least in tabletop, you can run around with 3 awakened companions at a time, 2 lesser and 1 greater. The lesser awakened in the handbook include boars, which are highly intelligent, social, and have a sense of smell that exceeds dogs, and they're able to acquire complex language, craft, technical, and science skills that most other awakened can't or don't bother with. For combat, boars are super aware, they are able to survive longer than many other awakened, and they have a brutal tusk attack. Canines, which can have both a wolf and a dog side, are very loyal, respectful, reliable, and obedient companions. But when let off the leash, so to say, their wild side makes them ruthless trackers and hunters. They are highly aware creatures, and in combat, they excel when close to allies, and they have a piercing bite. Awakened frogs are some of the more heavily engineered awakened, and they can survive in hostile environments. They're good at stealth in both water and on land. They can breathe both water and air, and they can develop artificial capabilities based on their immediate environment that can be highly useful to both the frog and ranger. Frogs have a great jump or leap distance, and for combat, a bite that can incapacitate and the venomous spit ability. The Raven might not excel in combat compared to many other awakened, but their incredible agility makes them excellent scouts. They have an incredible ability to meddle with technology, but sometimes they're a bit too curious for their own good. In combat, being able to fly also has its benefits, of course, and they have a talon attack. The great companions in the handbook include the bear and the tiger. Awakened bear companions are highly adaptable creatures, fiercely protective and incredibly powerful with great strength and endurance. Awakened bears can be equipped to carry hives of bee remotes, and they can provide medical aid. They do have a few vices, though, such as eating everything that they can and also oversleeping. It'll definitely be funny to see this stuff represented in the game, as we do know that there will be awakened bears. For combat, bears have a multi-attack, a claw attack, a bite. They can unleash killer bees, and they even have these bees that can revive creatures, but only creatures that have died very recently. And for the mighty awakened tiger, they are known to combine grace and power with human-level intelligence and understanding. They're extremely stealthy hunters of the dark, experts in using cover to strike from ambush before fading back into the scenery. These are great companions for ranger assassins or infiltrators, but on the downside, they don't tend to play well with others. They can be quite needy in terms of needing attention from their ranger. They can actually get jealous, and they can exhibit very proud and haughty personalities. For combat, the awakened tigers have a multi-attack, a pounce, and a prowl, letting them hide in combat. And don't forget, they can see great in the dark. So those are the awakened companions in the Traveler's Handbook, but the possibilities in the game are endless, as there are certainly way more awakened creatures in Exodus lore. Regardless of your companion choices, though, all rangers get extra attack at level 5, although who knows how or if that would be implemented in the game. At level 6, they get the ability to heal their own companions, as well as make them more powerful when fighting the same opponent. And at level 9, rangers gain Commander, which gives them enhanced abilities to command multiple companions, including any drone that they may be using. And finally, at level 10, who knows if that'll be the max level in the actual game, but rangers get something called Tireless, allowing them to keep their companions' energy levels quite high and also restore some HP to them. So those are the 4 classes and their subclasses in the Traveler's Handbook. Of course, much of this is designed for tabletop, which is turn-based combat with a long and a short rest system like you have in BG3, which is of course going to be very different from the upcoming Exodus video game. But generally speaking, if these classes are in the game, I would imagine that a lot of this would carry over, at least in some way, shape, or form. Personally, I'm loving the idea of playing as the Daemon class, as I think they're super interesting, and I always love tanking tanky classes that don't exhibit the visual characteristics of what you typically think of as being a tank, but I'm probably leaning the most on being a ranger at this time, as the Awakened are one of the big draws for me to this Exodus universe. I grew up watching Crocodile Hunter, Jeff Corwin, etc. Almost went down a career path in animal behavior, believe it or not. So this seems like a class that is meant for me. And hey, how can Wolfheart not run with some wolf companions? Thank you all so much for watching. So much more Exodus content to come, including a full lore series that will get us ready for the game's launch so we can enjoy it much more and immerse ourselves in the Exodus universe. I'll catch you all on the next one.